Every once in a while I come across a video that's either so good or so great or so awful or so shocking that I absolutely must respond to the video. And this video is definitely one of them. This lady has been talking about Obama and the economy, just like I have been talking about, except she's added a bit of homophobia and some other things to her message. And she was talking about white people in America. The name of her video was White in America. And she said some things that were absolutely outrageous. Here's an example.
There is a serious hatred, deeply rooted hatred in America from black people. In fact, I would say a majority, or at least half, despise us whites.
Hey guys, this is Rudy, and I'm gonna break my own rule here. And I normally don't get involved in other YouTubers' drama. But I think this is such an opportunity to share a different perspective that I didn't want to miss it, and I hope we all can be adults here. But this is in regards to Demcad's video and also Misses Maxton. I don't know how to pronounce her name properly, so I'm just going to call her Misses Maxton. I see that she's removed all her videos and kind of withdrawn from YouTube, and I hope that's not forever. I enjoyed a lot of her videos. But I'll say this, that I watch a lot of Demcad's videos, and I learned a lot from them. I thought he offered a lot of good information. He spent a lot of time, obviously, researching his facts. But I think this situation is an example where he just totally went overboard. I think he used words like outrageous, shocking, disgusted. He called her a racist at one point in the video. And, I live in Texas, and we have a lot of racists, even in my hometown. There's a KKK group in my town. And so if you're going to use words like outrageous, shocking, disgusted, racist, I would suggest that we save those words for the real KKK, as opposed to a lady who I think was just trying to extend an open dialogue instead of like taking a crap all over her like you did. Again, I'm not trying to come in and defend the lady. She has to defend her own words, but I'm going to give you my perspective. It's a perspective, I know that we all have different perspectives. So take my perspective and take it or leave it. But I'm going to play your video, her video, and then I'm going to give you my perspective. And let's just see where it goes. And hopefully we can learn from this and understand one another. But I saw a whole piling on in the comments. A lot of the people who made video replies were piling on, calling her crazy, delusional, KKK, racist, and that's just wow. I mean, you guys, have you ever met anybody from the KKK? I mean, do you really understand what a racist is before you go pile on and jump on this lady's case? But anyway, let's talk about the very first point. Let's talk about the very first point, and that is, she said that she felt that there was a lot of blacks, I think she used the word majority, and I don't know what the percentage is, that have a deep-seated hatred for whites. So I want to play a clip from The Faith of Barack Obama. It's a book that was written by Stephen Mansfield. And Stephen Mansfield wrote this book. Inside this book is an excerpt from Black Liberation Theology by James Cone. Now, James Cone admittedly influenced Jeremiah Wright. Jeremiah Wright will admit that he was influenced by Black Liberation Theology, and he was influenced specifically by James Cone. Now, we know how close Jeremiah Wright was to Barack Obama. So I don't know, the percentages of blacks that hate whites. I don't know that it's even worth talking about the percentages. I think Demcad had an issue with Mrs. Maxton using the word majority, saying that she had no data to back that up. I certainly have no data. I don't know if there's any data that we can refer to. But let's play a clip from James Cone's Black Liberation Theology, and I'm going to play it right here. And this is probably going to go more than 10 minutes, but I want to do this video response proper, and I want to make all the points that I want to make. So let's listen to what James Cone has to say in Black Liberation Theology.
Black first, and everything else comes after. This means that I read the Bible through the lens of a black tradition of struggle and not as the objective Word of God. The Bible, therefore, is one witness to God's empowering presence in human affairs, along with other important testimonies. The corollary is, of course, that whiteness is oppression, that whiteness is slavery, that whiteness is power in opposition to the very thing that Jesus Christ came to do. Even for those who understood Cone's language, Jesus is a black man come to destroy white systems of oppression, his message was radical and often violent. A typical sentence from his A Black Theology of Liberation reveals the sentiments that enraged white readers and thrilled many black activists. Black theology must realize that the white Jesus has no place in the black community, and it is our task to destroy him. Similarly, black theology is concerned only with the tradition of Christianity that is usable in the black liberation struggle. Or, for too long, Christ has been pictured as a blue-eyed honky. Black theologians are right. We need to de-honkify him and thus make him relevant to the black condition. These statements were troubling enough to the society of the day, yet there were others that seemed designed to set a match, almost literally, to the tinderbox of animosity. The black experience is the feeling one has when attacking the enemy of black humanity by throwing a Molotov cocktail into a white-owned building and watching it go up in flames. We know, of course, that getting rid of evil takes something more than burning down buildings, but one must start somewhere.
All right. I hope you listen to that carefully. That's a pretty significant statement from black liberation theology about throwing Molotov cocktails into white-owned buildings and saying that, this will not get rid of all the evil whiteness, but we have to start somewhere. And according to Stephen Mansfield, that was a typical statement from black liberation theology. So for Mrs. Maxton to say that there, exists a hatred in blacks for whites is, I think, simply stating a fact. Now, she used the word majority, and it may not be a majority, but for Demcad to take a crap all over Mrs. Maxton because of some percentage, she may not have her percentages right, I just think was inappropriate. I mean, she was simply stating a fact, and it's obvious if you educate yourself on black liberation theology that they see whiteness as oppression, and they teach whiteness as oppression, and everything white is evil. So it's not a misstatement by Mrs. Maxton on what she stated. Whether it's the majority or not, I simply don't know. Now, is the reverse true? Is there a deep-seated hatred in whites for blacks? Yeah, I'm sure there is. That's evident by the KKK, and it's evident by other racial groups in America. So, Demcad, I think you jumped the gun and just, took a dump all over this lady, and she was simply trying to extend an open dialogue. Well, I'll tell you what, let's stop and let's play the next piece that Demcad has to say, where he continues to comment on Mrs. Maxton.
Half or more of black people have a deep hatred of white people. What study are you using? What type of empirical data are you using? Or is this just your opinion disguised as a fact? Why would you say in fact when it's obviously not a fact? What story are you looking at? I mean, which article? What study? It doesn't sound like you have any study or any information or any facts at all.
As far back as I can remember, I have always felt intimidated by them.
You're intimidated by black people? Well, then that's just a racist thought on your behalf, because I'm not intimidated by any group of people or any individual I just meet simply because they belong to a group of people. If I meet somebody and that person's an asshole, then I treat that person like an asshole, not because that person belongs to group A or B or anything. This is just your personal stuff. This is your problem.
All right, let's talk about the intimidation. Let's talk about the intimidation comment. Now, Mrs. Maxton was speaking from her heart. This is the way I see it, and she said that for as long as she can remember, she's been intimidated by black people. Now, Demcad rightly stated that this is the problem Mrs. Maxton has, and it's not anything to do with the external world, and that we should judge each person individually, not by the group that they're in. So I agree with what Demcad had to say, but I'll also state this, that I went to a black high school, H. Grady Spruce. I stated this before in my videos. It's over like 85-90% black. And in that high school, it was a very rough school. I think the biggest drug bust in the state of Texas was made from that school. And it's very violent situation. Now, is there violent white schools? Hell yes, there's violent white schools. But the bottom line is it was not a high school that I remember as being safe, courteous, everybody treating each other with respect. It was you buck up and survive, and you learn how to fend for yourself. And so if Mrs. Maxton is stating that, rather than dump all over her and trying to discredit her, why not just accept her statement as she is simply speaking from her heart, and saying that yes, that is something she has to deal with, but obviously those feelings that she has are coming from real reasons in the world that have made her feel like that. Now that's not to say that it's right or wrong, but I don't think it's appropriate to dump all over Mrs. Maxton because she's speaking from her heart and saying what she believes. I mean, it's total counterproductive to having an open dialogue. So let's move on and we'll go to the next point.